From the WRAL News Studios in Raleigh, North Carolina, this is the WRAL Daily Download, an in-depth conversation on a story worth talking about.
Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Julian Grace, and today's deep dive conversation is with WRAL reporter Matt Talhelm. He's here to talk about the massive development proposal for North Hills. Now, before we get started in this discussion, if you want to stay informed on the latest developments and proposals in the Triangle, you need to follow Matt on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever social handles you have, because I'm telling you, Matt will keep you informed. So, Matt, thank you for joining us this morning. I appreciate you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's talk about this project. This is a big project. What has been the overall theme of those who have been talking about it?
Yeah, it is a huge project in North Hills. That area is growing and has been growing ever since the mall was demolished and turned into what it is now. This is an area where they could see 12, 30, 40-story buildings right there along Six Forks Road. You're already seeing a lot of cranes around there right now. Last time we were up there, I think we counted 3 cranes right there in the North Hills area. So that area is developing already with 10, 12-story towers. But Kane Realty wants to go even taller with these 30 and 40-story towers right there where the parking lot is right now.
Right.
If you're familiar with that area, there's an REI store, Coquette restaurant, and a bank. That parking lot would be turned into potentially 40-story towers.
And correct me if I'm wrong, this proposal originally came out or was in the works in late 2021. Is that correct?
Correct. The first neighborhood meeting, in fact, was September 2021, and then Kane filed the application for the rezoning request in October. So this has been in the works for a while. There have been a lot of meetings and back and forth with the neighborhood and some of the neighbors in there who have had concerns about this kind of growth. And they have tweaked around their proposal, still not enough to meet all the concerns that a lot of folks have.
There are a couple of incentives that are in there as well, a bus transit and also a fire station, which some in the community say is desperately needed.
Yeah, Kane has made some concessions throughout this process to the city in order to try to get taller heights. So it's that back and forth that they go with here when they're looking at these rezonings. One of the things that the city would get is space to build a larger fire station there. That fire station is very small. It cannot handle ladder trucks, and you need ladder trucks to respond to taller buildings. And right now it's 6 to 8 minutes away is where the closest ladder truck is. So if you build all these taller buildings, a 6 to 8 minute wait without traffic, that can be life or death in some situations and can turn into a very dangerous situation. So the city will get that. The city will also get land for a transit hub to be built there. It would have 4 bus lines. These would be 15-minute bus service back and forth to connect to some of the other lines, as well as a 30-minute service. So some of the city councilors at the most recent meeting said, look, we're getting things out of this. They don't have to do any of this. This is beneficial for us, especially when we want a city that's transit-oriented. Others say it's still not enough.
Let's talk about affordability. You can just drive around the Triangle, trying to find an apartment, trying to find a house. Things are expensive, and residents have said specifically, hey, we need affordable housing. What is Kane Realty doing to try to accomplish that goal?
Try may be the best word in that. They're offering to do 10% of the units in any residential building that is built in the 40-story tower section, so right there along Six Forks Road, those would be what they call micro units. So they'd be a maximum of 600 square feet. Their math, they say they could rent them for about $1,500, which would be considered affordable to the Midtown median salary there. A lot of people, though, $1,500 for 600 square foot studio, basically, that's not affordable. And if you go right across the street in another building that Kane has on the other side of Six Forks Road, they do have units about this size that are renting for $2,400 a month. So there's nothing in this concession that they're giving for these micro units that says they have to be affordable to a certain percent of median income. This is just them saying, well, 600 square foot units, we could never rent them for much more. But as some city councilors have pointed out, they're already doing that right across the street.
So 600 square foot units at $1,500 a pop.
Yep.
Do you think they will tweak it. It seems like they've shown some flexibility so far with this plan.
You know, at the last council meeting that they brought this up, affordable housing continued to be a big issue here. And they did say that through their attorney that's representing them in this rezoning, that they could go back and take a look at some of those things. City Councilor Patrick Buffkin, who represents this area, most recently, even just a couple days after that city council meeting, said North Hills needs affordable housing and a commitment from the city to improve the transit, the infrastructure around there. So these things are going back and forth. There is a lot of bargaining happening here in order for Kane to get those taller heights, which they say they need to get to in order to put these more affordable units in.
I think it's interesting that you brought up the council members. I had the opportunity to attend one of the sessions about a couple of weeks ago, and it appeared that many of the council members are firm about the affordable housing component.
Yeah, the affordable housing and the transit seem to be the two big sticking points here. Because, look, if you don't have the transit hub built first and you don't have these bus lines moving through there, Six Forks Road is just going to be a nightmare with more traffic coming in. So those are some of the big issues that they really are sticking to. And at the most recent council meeting just a week ago, they said, we need to have some of these things figured out. And it did seem to be a good number of the councilors want these answers, at least some answers before they vote on this. Whether that's the answers they want, they may still go ahead with it. But it does seem like there's going to be a process here, that this is not just going to be approved overnight.
How receptive has Kane Realty, their spokesperson, been in responding back to you? I know you have had some critical questions about this project.
We have reached out to Kane Realty through several different members of their staff and their spokespeople. We have not heard back at all from them. Some of their members have been at the city council meetings. They have not spoken recently. They've done that all through their attorney and through the applications for the rezoning, putting in their comments there. So we haven't actually heard from them on the record with us about this.
So typically when you do hear from them, it's in those council meetings, I take it.
Yeah, that seems to be the case. You have to wait for one of them to get up and answer questions from councilors. Sometimes the council members will say, we want to talk to the applicant specifically. And they did that a while back. The most recent meetings, though, it has been through just the rezoning attorney that's representing them. We have reached out to her as well and have not heard back from her.
When we come back after the break, WRAL's Matt Talhelm will discuss more with us about the North Hills project, and specifically, I want to ask about the influence of residents in this, because it seems like they're really, really pushing for what they want. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Julian Grace, talking with Matt Talhelm, and we are talking about the North Hills project. This massive, massive project. All right, there have been so many topics that we can hit on and we can slice this pie, but I want to hit on the impact of the residents. They have been very vocal, some that they don't want it, some that they want to make amendments, and others saying, hey, we need something here, but this is not the project for us. What has been the influence of the residents in this community surrounding that project?
They have had a lot of influence. In fact, even in the most recent negotiations about some of the setbacks for some of the buildings that they border single-family homes. So there'd be one-story single-family home right across from a potentially up to 12-story building. The Kane Realty came back and said, we'll set back that building or step it back so the space that's right along the street that would face those single-family homes won't be 12 stories. It will stay lower and then rise up further away from the neighborhoods. One of the neighbors was specifically mentioned in the letter from Kane Realty. They said, Larry Helfont proposed this and we will do this. So they're making negotiations with some of the residents. He's the president of the Midtown Advisory Council, Citizens Advisory Council. So they've been very aggressive in trying to get this to be a better development, at least from their perspective, than what was offered first.
What was Larry's response when he found out that Kane Realty is receptive to that idea?
He said, that's one of the things we wanted. So
one of the things.
Yeah, check that one off. He's even said to me about the affordable housing component that, look, we're at least getting something affordable housing in this. It will be more affordable, maybe not to a lot of people, but it checks off one of the boxes from the Midtown area plan. And that's what the people, the neighbors, people in this area put together this plan over several years. City Council approved it just in 2020, and some of those things like affordable housing, step backs, those were in this Midtown area plan. That plan also called for buildings no taller than 20 stories. That continues to be the sticking point for a lot of the neighbors there.
It appears to be a hyper focus on this project. There was a council meeting recently where this was just discussed, and it was a packed house. Mm-hmm. And we're thinking, oh, well, residents are there for a number of issues. This is a major city. But when it came time for the public hearing, each person that stepped up to the mic, they were concerned about this project.
This has been a big focus because I think it's symbolic of what's happening throughout the rest of the city. You have a lot of taller towers being built up or proposed. You have these rezonings happening to put density. Everyone talks about density. That's what you need. You need a taller building to get density in a landlocked city. So this project, I think, just has so much focus because of that. Also, Six Forks Road. I lived up in North Hills when I first moved here, and I can tell you it's a mess. It can be a traffic nightmare. I would go around the shopping center there, and you couldn't find parking, and you'd be driving around, sitting in traffic forever out on the road. So they're valid concerns that people have about the traffic out there, and at this point, there's no plan to improve those roads as part of this project. So that's one of the big things I think that a lot of folks, both in North Hills and citywide, are looking at when they see a rezoning sign pop up that says 12, 20, 30, 40 stories. All they think about is, well, where's the infrastructure? Should that come first before you do the development? That's a question that was asked at the city council several times, and there seems to be no real answer for that. No one can agree if you should do the infrastructure first and wait for the development, or do the development and then catch up to it.
Right. I do not want to be dismissive at all about the incentives. You alluded to it earlier in this conversation. We're talking about $9 million in possible property taxes, the bus transit, but also the fire station. I heard a representative for the fire department say, we desperately need a fire station in that area.
Yeah, and the taller buildings need a ladder truck, and there's none there right now because that fire station number 9 that's there, if you know where it is, it's right by the Walgreens on Six Forks Road. It kind of sits back. It's a little small, so it's hard to see. But if you build these bigger buildings, and there already are bigger buildings there that have been built, one of them, the Eastern apartment building, is 36 stories. So right now, if you need a ladder truck to respond to one of these taller buildings, the fire chief has said it can be 6 to 8 minutes without traffic from the nearest fire station to get one of these ladder trucks there. The more people, the more traffic you add in, that's just going to be longer and longer. So the city wants this bigger fire station there that can fit these larger ladder trucks.
What's the next phase of this project? What happens next?
So City Council at the most recent meeting decided to delay any decision on this. They're asking for those issues about transit, some of the traffic concerns, and the affordable housing component to be honed in on, to focus on some of the changes that could happen there. They've asked Kane Realty through their attorney to go back, negotiate some of these things, see what kind of proposal they can bring back. That's supposed to happen later in September. At this point, though, some of the city councilors have said it may need more time, and we may not be able to get that done. One of the other concerns they had about with traffic was they want a traffic impact analysis to be done to see how much more traffic, how many more cars would be added to the roads there. And then also looking at, could they expand Six Forks Road? And there were all these issues brought up, and that's not going to happen in the next week. So that may take more time. It'll just depend on if City Council is receptive to hearing this again, and if Kane comes back with a new plan that they can approve.
All right, looks like we're already running out of time that quickly. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Matt. Do you believe this project will get approved by the end of this year?
This current council is pretty predictable about how they will approve development, especially if there are some concessions from the developer. It does seem like it's split right now. And I think if some of these issues are worked out, that they can convince some of the counselors who are maybe on the swing on this, on the fence on it, I think that they probably can get through because the city is getting some things out of this that they desperately need in that North Hills area, and it gives the developer at least what they want on that property.
All right, Matt, I appreciate you. I know you got to get out the door. Thanks again for joining us, and we're going to be following you through this process. and continue to keep us informed. Well, once again, thanks to WRAL reporter Matt Talhelm for joining us this morning, and thanks for listening to the WRAL Daily Download and making us part of your morning routine. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. It's a daily email that's waiting in your inbox every morning with Triangle news, events, and headlines to get you ready for the day. You can sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.